and welcome to Getting to Good Enough, a podcast to help you overcome perfectionism so you can do more of what you love. I'm Shannon Wilkinson. I'm a life coach in Portland, Oregon, and I'm a recovering perfectionist who's getting better at good enough.
And I'm Janine Adams. I'm a certified professional organizer in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm lucky enough to be naturally good at good enough.
And today, we are going to be talking about prioritizing. Oh my God, this is our 18th episode. Hey, Janine.
Hey, Shannon.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good too.
Good. I knew I was going to have a good day because my first client, whom I never met, opened the door and he was wearing a Big Lebowski t-shirt.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Did he offer you a Caucasian?
No, it was 9 a.m., so he did not.
Well, you know, if he was really channeling the dude, I think time of day would not have anything to do with it.
Good point. No, he did not.
Oh, yeah. We're here to talk about prioritizing.
Yes, prioritizing. Important stuff.
Yeah. So, do you do a lot of prioritizing for yourself or in your work? I mean, I imagine you do in your work a lot. Yes,
I help clients prioritize a lot. I mean, we're always prioritizing, and when we're figuring out in what order to work on projects. I do prioritize in my own life as well, of course, but I don't think that I sort of do it knowingly. I think it's more I use my intuition or just my instincts in picking out the top the things that I want to work on next. But as we talked about in the task management episode way back when, I always have a task list, and there's always plenty from which to choose. But I feel like I've honed how I choose so well that I don't even think about what I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I way back when I first became a professional organizer, I took some training, and one of the quadrants, one of the tools that I learned about that to help clients, also help myself, was to divide your tasks into 4 quadrants, and there's simply those things that you want to do but don't have to do, and those things that you want to do and have to do, and those that you don't want to do and have to do, and that you don't want to do and don't have to do. And the advice was to don't do the things that you don't want to do or have to do, And in fact, in this quadrant was a piece of paper, and the advice was to write down your tasks, putting them into those quadrants, right? And let go of that 4th quadrant, and then start with Kathy Waddell is the person from whom I took this training, and she suggested to start with the things that you want to do and have to do, and then next go to the things that you don't want to do but have to do, and perhaps delegate the things that you what would that be that you don't have.
I already got lost.
Yeah, sorry.
Wait, so have to do, don't want to do was second?
Yeah, but I said it completely wrong. That makes no sense.
Do you need to draw it out?
I did. But I didn't look at it. So let me look at it. The things that were second were the things that you have to do. Oh yeah. No, I wrote it down wrong. Hang on. I'm seeing have to do but don't want to do. Yeah, that was the second. So do the stuff that you want to do and have to do. Then there's the stuff that you have to do, but even though you don't want to do it, you have to do it. So you do those next. And then the stuff that you want to do but don't really have to do is the third. And then throw out the stuff that you don't have to do or don't want to do. So it's like
don't want to do.
And don't want to do. And it's like urgent and important, really. It's pretty much
and I think that's the Eisenhower
right.
matrix, where it's either important, not important, urgent, not urgent, and then you get those 4 quadrants.
Right. And in that case, you do important and urgent first. Important and not urgent second, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not important and urgent third. And then don't worry about the not urgent or not important, perhaps.
Right.
Right. Yeah, you said that much more succinctly than I did.
Well, we got there eventually.
Eventually, sorry. But then there's the guy. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I have been sort of following a new methodology where he suggests that you actually do the important but non-urgent stuff first, and not to the exclusion of the important and urgent, but that be a top priority, because those are the things that are going to help you from having so many fires that you have to put out all the time, because those are going to be the things like, creating the systems and doing the maintenance stuff that's important but not urgent because it's not yet a fire, but it'll help it from becoming a fire over time.
Right, because if you never do the things that are important but not urgent, if you only do the urgent, then you'll never get to those systems that aren't urgent to set up. And I would say that it's interesting to think of doing those before you do the important and urgent things. That seems like that might be, for me anyway, challenging to do. But setting aside time in your day to make sure that you address the things that fall into that category is a really good idea, at least speaking for what would work for me. And the other thing I like to think about is doing important things in the time of day where you're at your peak performance, where you can handle them well.
Right.
So if it's important, I don't want to do it at the end of the day when I'm tired. And I know that I'm really best off doing things that are more mindless. But for me, I do the usually things like writing, which is important for me anyway, at the beginning of the day when I'm at my peak. And I know we talked about this in our routines episodes, that your peak is later on in the day.
Right.
But that's also another part of prioritizing or figuring out what you're going to work on at a given point in the day, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think part of that is the idea of spending some of each day on the things that fall into each of these descriptions. That if your whole day is caught up in urgent things, you're never going to feel caught up or like you have control over anything. So, and that's a hard thing to do, is to take some of your time to build the systems, to do the routines, to do the things that really matter to you, and also, that sort of nourish you, to allow you to continue doing the urgent stuff, because just doing urgent stuff is, a recipe for burnout.
Right. It's not sustainable. It's true. Right. And I mean, one way to do it, which I don't advise, is just work on urgent stuff and then relax. If you're, it can be better than working all the time, but building in those systems. I'm going through this right now because I hired my first employee last month, who's an organizer, and even though I've worked with independent contractors for years and I had systems set up for that, this is like a whole new ball of wax, right? Because we can have real systems set up that I can require her to do, and boy, oh boy, it's really important, and it's not super urgent, and it's been a little hard for me to carve out the time to do it. But fortunately, I enjoy doing it. So I enjoy thinking about these systems and trying and implementing them. So it's getting done. If I didn't like it and it wasn't urgent, even though it's important, it would be hard for me to get going on it. But those background tasks really, they become the time savers, right? And they become the things that keep you. They become your safety net for those times when you are working on the urgent all the time. which are hopefully brief times. But
Right.
And then there's that guy Brian Tracy, who with the book Eat the Frog, who says he also talks in terms of want to do and need to do or have to do. And he says to do the stuff that you need to do but don't want to do those things first, because he says if you get the worst over with, then the rest of your day gets easier.
Right. If you start out by eating the frog, then nothing's going to be that bad for the rest of the day, I think. Is sort of the basic premise of that.
Exactly. And it's such a disgusting...
it really is.
I wouldn't want to write that book and have to live with that imagery all the time. But there is some sense in it, right? It does feel really good to get that hard stuff done.
Right.
And coast along the rest of the day.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid way to do things, especially if you have something that you're sort of dreading. You spend so much energy dreading it that you're going to really feel so much better to get it done.
Right. And, and it probably isn't as bad once you get it done, isn't as bad as you have built it up to be. At least that's the case with so many things, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's right. But I'm sort of thinking about taxes in terms of like... That's what jumped
into my mind, too.
Really? Yeah, it's like getting your taxes done early and then you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. I always try to have my stuff to my accountant by my birthday, which is in mid-March. So like it's a little birthday present to myself, so then I don't have to think about it again.
Oh, that's nice. I like the way you think of it as a birthday present to yourself. Yeah. And I like to do that too. I like to have my taxes done by Shannon's birthday. But this year, I'm getting them done by my birthday, which is next week. So I did my taxes at tax time, and I thought I must be doing something wrong here because I owed money, and I never owe money, or not never, but not recently. Hadn't done things differently. And on April 15th, I'm like, I just have to have somebody do it for me. And then I filed my extension, and I looked into recommendations of CPAs, because I figure for 2018, I can't do it myself anyway because everything's changed. So I might as well start with 2017. And then I promptly put it out of my head. I just didn't take the next step. Call it procrastination, perhaps. And so this morning... yesterday I wrote on my task list for today, CPA ! And then this morning when I was looking at my task list, today I was scheduling when I was going to do stuff throughout the day, and I put it in my 10 to 12 slot. And it was at about 8. And I'm like, geez, just contact the guy, Janine. And so I did. And I felt so much better. Yay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so now I have to.
So you ate the frog at 8 instead of at 10.
Exactly. Yep. And that was nice not to have to come home. I met with my client, and then it was nice not to have to come home to that task. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a perfect example of that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to provide a good example. I wish it weren't that particular example. Or if we were doing this example, I wish that it were March 1st and not September whatever.
Well,
yeah. But it'll get done, and then everything will be better with hopefully. I'm hopeful I get better news from him than I did from myself in TurboTax.
Right. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, but I think that sort of points out that there are a lot of different ways to approach prioritizing, and that you have a way that works really well for you on an ongoing basis, and it's good to have a number of different ways to approach it, because different circumstances are going to require different tools. Right.
Every day can be different, and certainly different months and different seasons and everything else. So knowing what some of your options are for figuring out what to work on next, or figuring out what deserves your attention is a really good idea.
Yeah. And I feel like I am constantly prioritizing, but it often means dealing with, whatever is popping up and whatever becomes urgent. But I always feel so scattered when I work that way. And I feel, at the end of the day, I feel like I did a lot, but I don't feel productive.
Right. And I know you keep a task list, but sometimes when we're responding to things as they come up rather than consulting our task list, then you feel like you look at your task list at the end of the day and you can only cross a couple things off of it. It's not, it doesn't feel good.
It's like, even though I did stuff all day long, but right. I only get to cross one or two things off.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes I haven't done this in a long time, but there have been times in my life where I would write down everything I did just so I'd feel better.
Like I absolutely do that.
Yeah.
I absolutely do that.
And then we talk a lot in task management about how we keep track of those tasks and so forth, but I think I'm remembering that we talked about how scanning our list and selecting the most important things to do the following day or that day, if it's the morning, is an important way to prioritize.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really helps you maintain your priorities to, sort of stick with them. But it also gives you the ability to flow with whatever comes up too. If you know what's important to you and and you're familiar with what needs to get done and what you want to do, and then something comes up, you have better criteria by which to decide whether or not it is more important or more urgent than what you had planned to work on.
Right. It can help you resist temptations. It can help you shift your focus back to where you want to be. It becomes your compass of sorts.
Yeah, and I since our morning routine episode, I have been it took me a while to get started with it, but I have been doing a morning routine, a journal that is specific to starting a morning routine, and it's been super helpful. We'll talk more about that in a future episode, but one of the things that it does is that I pick my top priority for the day, and you use this journal both in the morning and in the evening. So you're reviewing how you did with, your morning routine and the important thing that you picked out. And then you think about what you want tomorrow's morning routine to be like. So it gives you an opportunity to sort of experiment a little bit, but also maintain some consistency.
Well, that's wonderful. What's the name of the journal?
It's called the Morning Sidekick Journal.
Okay. I can put a link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, we can put a link to it. It's made a huge difference. It also helps me maintain my priorities, which is really great. Because it's so easy for me to get derailed by, a sick kid, or, do we need, whatever. I don't know. And because I'm at home working or at my office working, which is close to my home, it's much easier for me to get away and do things than it is for my husband.
Oh, so you're the one who gets called upon when there's a sick kid or some other, I don't have kids, but I work from home, and so does my husband. So that means that I'm not complaining, but if he needs something, like, if he's, like today we were just talking about a work challenge he's having, and I needed to listen and give him my opinion, because that's the nice thing to do. But sometimes
that's the supportive partner thing to do.
Exactly right. And so that's what I prioritized. at that moment. But
Right.
I need to get back to the things that were on my list for the day. Right. But I can see how being your husband's job is such that there's no way it's not easy for him to leave his work to take care of a sick kid. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm looking
Ironically.
forward to Yeah, right. When he's well prepared to take care of the sick kid. That's funny. Again, it boils down to knowing what's important to you so that you can set your priorities.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm glad you brought that up because that was something I wanted to talk about. We keep talking about, what your priorities are and stuff, and we haven't really talked about it in the bigger context of, knowing what's important to you in your life. What do you value? What kind of tasks are going to help you have the life that you want to have?
Yes. And I have two things to say about that. One, I think we could start a drinking game for whenever we say something about get in touch with what's important to you, someone could take a drink. Because we say it literally every episode.
We don't want our listeners getting hammered.
Well, that's
true. Or are
true.
you meaning us drinking?
No, I meant them. We don't want us getting hammered. I don't think. But that's a thought. I actually meant the listeners. That's funny. But the other thing is I heard an amazing speaker this week at our chapter meeting of the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. And his whole thing, and I'm trying to remember his name, is his name is Jeff Koziatek, and his thing is getting your value from within and not from external forces. That's his message. Mm-hmm. And that's what popped into my head when you mentioned your values and what's important to you. And he's written a book called Blueprint Value, it's called Blueprint for Value. I'm looking at the book, and I didn't see the word for, which I purchased from him after the talk, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But to me, it was an important message about when your values come from within you, then they're more in your control than if they're based on a job or somebody else's opinion of you.
Right.
Which is a little bit of a sidetrack from what we were talking about, but it jumped into my head. Yeah,
I mean, sort of, but really when that's what we're talking about is what's really important to you. And, we talk about, like, we want people to move away from procrastination so they can do more of what they love. And what is that?
We actually want them to move away from perfectionism, right?
Oh, right. I said procrastination.
Yeah.
Perfectionism.
Aren't you glad I'm listening while you're talking? Of course I'm listening. But, right. So I'm sorry to have interrupted and wrecked your flow.
No,
there.
I'm glad you did. But, overcome perfectionism so you can do more of what you love. And, overcoming perfectionism is great, but for what purpose? Like, what is it that you love? What do you want to be doing more of? What do you want more of in your life? What's important to you?
Right. The answers to those questions are absolutely integral to our message here, aren't they? If you're not in touch with those things, then why bother overcoming perfectionism?
Right.
Yes. And certainly that absolutely plays into figuring out how you want to spend your time and what your priorities are.
Yeah. Well, and because I think that, like, the problem with perfectionism is that A, it's not achievable, and B, it takes a lot of time trying to get there. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. And a lot of angst. I mean, there's just a lot there's a lot of emotional stuff that goes along
negativity that can come along with that. Right.
But when you start letting go of that perfectionism and accepting good enough, that gives you the time and mental space and energy to be able to do what's really important to you. So knowing what's important to you is a key factor.
Right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely true. I think maybe we should start that drinking game.
Well, I think we're at least like 3 shots in, aren't we? Just on this episode alone.
Oh, on this episode alone, right. Yeah, and I really do think, I mean, it really is the bedrock of our message. I mean, and it's funny because it comes up every episode, but we don't plan for it to come up every episode. It's a natural part of what we're talking about.
Right.
And Shannon, I know in your work as a life coach, you help people figure out what's important to them, right?
Yes.
Am I right about that? Right. And I wonder if that's something that you're able to help listeners with in the podcast, either now or at another time. I know you have already. I mean, we talked about it plenty, but is there an exercise or anything that is helpful?
I think that definitely is worth an episode on its own.
Great. I agree.
Yeah. Let's put that on the roster.
Yeah, we'll do it soon.
Because it is such an important part of what we're talking about, and if people aren't aware of that, but in the meantime, I have a example that's sort of coming to mind for me that I think makes a good metaphor for what we're talking about, and that is budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
And when my husband and I first combined our finances and started budgeting together, well, for him it was started budgeting. One of the things he said was, I would love to take the kids on a nice vacation every summer, but we just can't afford it. And I'm thinking, yeah, we can. We just have to figure out how we want to spend our money. And then we started using my beloved YNAB, You Need a Budget. I love this software. I highly recommend it. And I could show him how, like, these everyday decisions determine whether or not we could do this thing once a year. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you see, like, oh, I can, instead of buying these things that are like, oh, this is $20, this is $40, this is $50, this is $10, and just doing these little things because you think you don't have money to do the big thing, you add that up and all of a sudden you have the money to do the big thing.
If you don't do the little things.
If you don't do the little things, because they all of a sudden don't have that importance. It's like, oh, would I like to buy this book that is interesting that I may or may not read, or would I like to take the kids on a good vacation?
Right.
Would I like to buy this little gadget thing that's super fun and that I might enjoy for a couple of weeks, but, probably don't really need, or take the kids on a vacation? Mm-hmm. Like, it gives you the criteria to make a better formed decision that matches with what you really want.
Absolutely. That's a great metaphor, because if we think about it in terms of our time instead of our money, there you have prioritizing, don't you? I mean, prioritizing your time.
Exactly. So, you end up spending all this time on all these little urgent things, or things that feel urgent and important. But if you give yourself the space to step back and really notice what's really important to you, like, I know a lot of mothers get pulled into doing stuff with their kids, especially if they're homemakers. They get pulled into doing stuff for their kids and they feel like they need to do this, they need to do all these volunteer things. But if you take a step back and think, like, okay, it is important for me to do things with my kids, and it's also important for me to do these 3 other, have these other well-developed aspects of my life. What does that mean I say yes to? Mm-hmm. So maybe, yes, you're the room mother, but no, you're not on the PTA, or you're not on, some committee or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it helps you spend your time more effectively.
Right. It's exactly the message that we had in our episode on overcommitting, was know what's important to you so you can decide the things that are worth saying yes to.
Right.
Yeah. I love that comparison to the budget. I think that that's inspired and inspiring.
Well, yeah, and I just think it helps me have a more concrete feeling with my time. Like if I think of spending my time in the same way I think of spending money.
Mm-hmm. Right, and you have a certain amount of time every day, like a bank account of time.
Right.
Right.
How do I want to budget my time?
Right. Excellent. I like it.
Yeah. So, once again, know what's important to you.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And try to focus on the important, not the urgent. Yeah. We could just have a much shorter podcast.
If we just kept saying that over and over again?
Yeah, just a couple times and then say goodbye.
I think it would be far less interesting to drink to.
It would be a podcast for alcoholics.
Yeah. So anything else you want to say on prioritizing?
No, I liked your message a lot about budgeting and thinking of it as a time budget. And I also liked the message about how having a toolkit of techniques to use depending on the situation is a great idea for lots of things, but particularly I think for task management and prioritizing.
Yeah, I think that bears emphasizing in that you may find a way that works for you generally, and then there will be situations where that doesn't work. And to be able to try something different, like, you may not want to eat the frog every day, but sometimes you need to eat the frog. Mm-hmm. And just to not feel that like with not tax management, although, that seems to be a big part of it.
Right.
Like with task management, it's not about finding the perfect system that you never change again. It's about finding the system that works for you now and having the flexibility to adjust that or change it as you need to continue to be as productive and as you want to be.
Hear, hear.
All right. So that's that on prioritizing. If you have any questions about this or want more information, want to give us feedback, please leave us a voicemail at 413-424-GTGE 4843 or contact us through social media. You can also contact us on our website. The comment section on the show notes is a great place to talk about specific episodes. We've had a few people asking questions to get specific information, and we love to see that. Love to interact with our listeners. And do be sure and check out the show notes, because I think this episode is going to have a number of links about things that we've talked about specifically.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and know that if you call us on their hotline, we might well answer your question on the air in our next Q&A on the Fives episode in about a month and a half.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Love more questions. So for now, I am Shannon Wilkinson in Portland, Oregon.
And I'm Janine Adams in St. Louis, Missouri.
And we hope good enough is getting easier for you.